It's 2 p.m. on Thursday. Yep, Thursday. You know what time that is. It's time for the 2 p.m. project. Here's your host, Chris Cabardi. Give him a big round of applause. Hey! Give him another big round of applause. Hey! Whew. Nothing like cycling into work to keep your health up. Yes, it's 2 p.m. on a Thursday? What? Yeah, that's what I said. Normally we're here on a Friday, but it's 2 p.m. on a Thursday because, you know, tomorrow's Good Friday and we want to do all the traditional things that represents what Good Friday is all about, and that means eating lots of chocolate and sitting around. No, it doesn't mean that. That was just a joke. It's 2 p.m. on Thursday, just before Easter. Great to have your company here again. Chris Cabardi is my name. The content, if you haven't seen this show, the content we cover in each episode is designed to equip you with all those practical tools and techniques, evidence-based tools and techniques that will help you navigate through this crazy, crazy time. I should say that we're streaming live to Facebook. Hello to all our Facebook friends. Normally we just go to YouTube, but today we're going out to Facebook as well. It is an interactive show. If you haven't seen this show before, there are comments on the side. You can make some comments. I don't know whether it's the right or the left-hand side for you on both YouTube and Facebook. Those comments will come back to us. It'd be great to hear your thoughts about the show. If you want to ask a question of any of our guests, you can do that because we've got some time at the end of the show. But for the next 60 minutes, we are going to continue on our well-being area where we look at the PERMA model. So first of all, we looked at positive emotion, boosting positive emotion. Last week, we looked at saving relationships. Today, we're looking at promoting our health. Okay, well, let me just see if I can wrangle some equipment here. There seems to be something dodgy going on. Eve, is that working? I've got my producer here today, new producer. Normally we'd have Double Leopard, but unfortunately Double Leopard's not with us today. And is that working? Can we cut over here? Let me just see. Am I on? I'm on. Look at that, the magic of technology. Double Leopard's not here today. We've got Single Leopard. Eve Brennan, thank you for being here, Eve. As always, we like to stay safe here at Interchange. We are 2 trolley lengths away from each other, the new unit of measurement. Dawn Mackay-Diva once win the Melbourne Cup. She won by 5 trolley lengths. It was an amazing, amazing effort. As I mentioned, positive emotions, relationships, health, they're all essential to our well-being. They are elements taken from the PERMA model of well-being. Today, as I said, we're looking at health. Here's one I prepared earlier. Here's the H. Oh, that's creepy, isn't it? Is it creepy? Should I do it? If you think I should kiss the toilet roll, leave us a comment. Otherwise, this is our H representing health. We're just sort of boasting how much toilet paper we have here at the Interchange. I'm not proud of that. Anyway, back to me over here. So we're going to be exploring this with 3 very special guests and, as always, a fantastic musical act here today. I'm joined by my Interchange colleagues, Dr. Melissa Giles and Gabrielle Harris. Are you there? Can we bring you in? Hello, Melissa. And Gabe is here as well. We're going to be talking to you in a second. We have a very special guest speaker here today on the 2 p.m. project, Dr. CARMEL Harrington.
Hi, everybody.
CARMEL is here. Hello. She is Managing Director of Sleep for Health. She's an expert on sleep. We're going to talk about sleep connected to health today, which is going to be fantastic. Thank you, CARMEL, for joining us here. Our special musical guest performance today is from SIMMONS, who's going to play the beautiful Japanese bamboo flute, the shakuhachi. I think I pronounced that right. Hello, Adam.
Hello, how are you?
Great to see you. Thanks for being here today. Stay around. Adam's going to play later in the hour. Before I go on, can I just say, how good is soap? The whole world is trying to figure out how to beat this thing that we're all dealing with at the moment. Soap is just sitting there going, I've been around forever, I can beat this guy. How good is soap? I just wanted to shout out for soap. And I think maybe I should get a How Good is Soap t-shirt. Maybe someone out there can make me a How Good is Soap t-shirt because... Yeah, big round of applause for soap, please. The other thing that I found during the week, which I thought was quite interesting, is the health benefits of dancing. I mean, I know we can't kind of get together and dance together, but how good is dancing? Look at this. Improved condition of your heart and lungs, increased muscular strength, endurance and motor fitness, increased aerobic fitness, improved muscle tone and strength, weight management, stronger bones, better coordination, improved balance, blah, blah, blah. So I thought what I might do to kick off the show, I'm going to do a little dance routine. You ready? There, I feel so much better anyway. I feel healthier. My friend Eliza Logan, who might even be watching, she reckons that one of the great things in life is to be twirled on a dance floor, and it actually reminds her of her father, who was a very good dancer. Eliza was one of 6 kids, and she reckons that they all used to fight to get their dad's attention to be twirled on the dance floor, and still, as an adult, to this day, it's one of the great things that you can do in life, is to be twirled on the dance floor. I don't think I'll ever get that. I need to be twirled by a very large person. Melissa Giles, can I bring you in? Hello, Melissa. How great to have you back. So today we're exploring health. Do you want to take us just very briefly through that as a recap of the PERMA model? And let's now start to explore health and how it's impacting our time during the crazy coronavirus that we're dealing with at the moment, the lockdown.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yeah, so H is the final letter in the acronym PERMA, and as you so well depicted with the toilet paper there. And yeah, as we've said before, PERMA is an evidence-based model around well-being. And so each of the letters represents 6 elements of well-being. So we have positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning, accomplishment, and health. And the model reminds us that we really need to focus on being physically well in order to be psychologically well. So I guess it's in some ways to think about it, our physical health is that foundation that sets us up for our well-being. And when we talk about physical health, we're thinking about aspects such as eating well, moving regularly, and sleeping deeply.
How is COVID-19 actually impacting our physical health at the moment?
Yeah, so I mean, it's fair to say the pandemic is causing widespread stress, anxiety and fear amongst people. And we know at times like this, when we're feeling stressed, when we're feeling anxious, we can neglect our physical health. So we might be eating poorly, potentially drinking too much. We reduce our physical activity and our sleep is definitely impacted as well. We also know that we're predominantly home, which decreases our incidental exercise. I know for myself, I live without any stairs and it's a very short walk to the kitchen for a cup of tea. So we're also not getting those opportunities for incidental exercise. So COVID-19 is certainly impacting on our physical health in a number of ways.
And yeah, I know. I heard during the week, I think alcohol sales are up like 300% or something crazy like that. That's not my alcohol sales. Alcohol sales in general is up 300%. In terms of your own physical health, we're all sort of trapped in the same area. We're all at home. I haven't seen your face physically in a long time. I've seen you on screen for the last few weeks. What are you doing to promote your own physical health?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, yoga has always been part of my life. I've done yoga for as long as I can remember. And at the moment, obviously, where I practice yoga, they're shut. So, what I've started doing is yoga and exercise classes with my children. I've got two young boys, and we pull out the yoga mat and pop on the TV, and we do yoga and exercise classes together. And it's been a lot of fun, actually. I can't say that we get through the whole class without some tantrums and drama, but it's a lot of fun in terms of engaging the whole family in some physical activity.
Fantastic. And how do the boys go? Are they enjoying it? Do they still just want to get out and run rampant outside in the park, or are they okay with the yoga class?
Yeah, they're pretty good actually. They're quite enjoyed. I mean, we've been able to find ones that are fun and engaging for children. So, yeah, they're loving it. I mean, they love spending time with their parents. So, I think to get that opportunity to all do exercise together is something that they're quite enjoying. And we also have a backyard, so we do make sure we get out into the backyard and kick the balls around. And I set up obstacle races in the house, so the children have to. We have a very long hallway, which is fantastic. So the children set up an obstacle course that goes through the whole house, and they have to do different activities at different spots. So it's good. It's making us be creative about ways to keep fit and active.
Fantastic. Thank you, Melissa. We'll come back to you in a minute. Dr. Melissa Giles, obviously plenty of room for children to come round and join in over at the Giles household. Just, connect with us here at interchange.com.au. Hey, check this out. Some hot tips. Here's another hot tip. Chris's hot tip. So this came into my house during the week. Dear neighbour, I don't know whether you've seen this. This is from a group called United Neighbours. United Neighbours. It's a Facebook group. You can find them on Facebook. We might even put a link in at the bottom of our feed here. It was created with the intention of helping those people in need. It's their first initiative was this one, which was the Letter Love Drop, it's called. It was deployed throughout Melbourne with more than 60 courageous youths who put forth their numbers to be the point of contact for any of the elderly should they need medications or groceries whilst in isolation. I thought that was just fantastic. So United Neighbours, you can find them on Facebook. Another group is called Adopter, the Adopter Healthcare Worker Facebook page. Again, I saw this on 7:30, the 7:30 report during the week. The Adopter Healthcare Worker Facebook pages are connecting workers, healthcare workers with people who want to help them. So most of these healthcare workers who work odd hours and don't actually have the opportunity to get to the supermarket, and when they do get to the supermarket, everything's gone, you have the opportunity to adopt a healthcare worker and do some shopping for them. So the report was fantastic. It showed some of the healthcare workers actually getting home and they had been adopted by someone, and what they needed had been bought, from washing powder to dog food, a whole range of things. So it's another one. You can find them on Facebook, Adopt a Healthcare Worker, ADOPTA. There's also great information on Beyond Blue. I just thought it might be worth mentioning. There's things like how to talk to kids about coronavirus, staying connected with friends and family during a pandemic, ways to stay positive if you've lost your job, the importance of self-care for health workers, and looking after your mental health whilst isolating. We often think about all of this as physical health, but today we're very much looking at mental health and well-being. Gabrielle Harris, are you there? Can we bring you in?
Hi.
Oh, look at this. Producer, my single leopard. Incredible. Eve, amazing. Switching cameras, been there for years. Gabe, hello. Let's talk about the importance of physical health, despite the mental health angle that I just went on. Why is our physical health as important as ever during this time?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So, I mean, look, we really know that nutrition, exercise and sleep are pretty essential to our overall well-being. But I think right now it's more important than it's ever been before. Because if we're not really actively focused on those things, then a decline in one of those areas could impact our mental health as well. There's actually a really interesting piece of research that was a collaboration between the University of Birmingham and King's College in London. And they found through this body of research that they did that adults who are aged between 55 and 79 who exercise regularly have the same immune system as young people, which I think is really cool, because there's a lot that all of us can do about that. So really for the present time, thinking about those three aspects of nutrition, exercise and sleep are going to be really important for us.
Yeah, okay. And do you have any thought about during this time? I mean, we're all isolated, well, actually, no, this was another thing I saw during the week, the difference between quarantine and isolation. I'll talk about that in a sec, but we're all kind of caught in this world. How do we actually improve our physical health, given the constraints of the boundaries that we find ourselves in? We can't actually be as physical as we would like to be.
So I think... Oh, thanks, darling. Sorry, my son's just joined us for this discussion. He's just seen us on the computer, which is nice.
Bring him in. You might go viral on YouTube. It happens.
So I think the important thing to think about with that one, Chris, is to not try and bite off too much at once. So small changes is key to any sustainability of the habits that we put in place. So if you're thinking about something like exercise, it would be to go for a walk before trying to run a marathon.
Gabe, sorry, I think we've just got some feedback coming there. I don't know. I'm not quite sure where that's coming from.
Is it me somehow?
It might be you. Anyway, we might come back to you in a sec if that...
Yeah, skip me. Move on.
If you just mute your microphone for a sec, we'll see if that seems to solve it. Anyway, we'll work that out in a sec. Carmel, I'll go to you in a second. Dr. Carmel Harrington coming in, who is an internationally recognised sleep scientist. Before we do that, I just wanted to highlight something. The Lancet recently published a review paper about the psychological impact of quarantine to explore the likely effects on mental health and psychological well-being. It's a really interesting paper. You can find it online at the Lancet. They compiled thousands of papers that were done at the time of SARS and Ebola and H1N1 strain, and they compressed it down to about 24 papers that they looked at, which were done across 10 countries. The key message that came through was that if you do quarantine or extended isolation badly, and rather than it just being distressing for the people who are doing it, it can actually have some long-lasting psychological impacts. Some of the research actually found that 29% of those quarantined showed signs of post-traumatic stress disease, and 31% had symptoms of depression following isolation. Now, the mental health implications of isolation don't mean that we shouldn't quarantine. We must be following the medical advice that's given to us. But I just want to highlight it because I think it's actually just as important to recognise the difficulties that we're going through at the moment. We can support each other by recognising the mental health struggles, the well-being struggles that people are going through, even from afar. So things like, Skype meetings, Zoom meetings, assigning yourself structured work, exercising indoors or doing yoga or dancing like I just did. How about my dancing? Why don't you just do some of that? Creative projects, drawing, taking photographs, even looking at photographs, as I highlighted last week, looking at those photographs that you've stuck in a drawer or you took 10 years ago of your holiday. Have a look at those, even with your kids or with your partner. Go through and reminisce about the time that you had together at that moment. The other way to do it is learning a new skill, and that's what we're going to do today. I would say if you've got a lemon handy, here's one I prepared earlier, or a potato, or an orange, or a tennis ball, or something like that, go get it, because we're going to learn to juggle, and over 3 weeks, you are going to be able to juggle. This is going to be your new skill. The first lesson is here today with me. So all we're going to do today, using a lemon, or a juggling ball if you have it, we're going to learn to do the pop, okay? This is the new skill, and I want people to take photographs of themselves and post it on our page. The new skill of learning to juggle. You saw me here juggling 3 toilet rolls a couple of weeks ago, and people lost their minds. I don't know why. They thought it was just a bit indulgent. Not me. Okay. Pop, pop. You've got to throw it from the palm of your hand. That's all it is. Pop. This is all we're doing today. And it should just go to your eyes and down, and then that's all I want you to do. Practice this week. Pop. It shouldn't spin too much. It just goes up and down. That's the first lesson in juggling. You can't learn to juggle in a day. You can't learn to play the piano in a day. You can't learn to juggle in a day. All you can do is that. That's your challenge for this week. I'll see you next week. CARMEL, I think we might bring you in now. We'll get back to Gabe in a second. Dr. CARMEL Harrington is an internationally recognised sleep scientist. It's fantastic to have you on the show today. She's the Managing Director of Sleep for Health, a research fellow at the Children's Hospital Westmead, and a founding member of the Australasian Sleep Health Foundation. CARMEL has authored numerous academic articles and 2 best-selling sleep books, The Sleep Diet and The Complete Guide to a Good Night's Sleep. She is keen to raise awareness of the essential role sleep plays in our physical and mental health, and is a regular sought-out speaker and commentator for all matters connected to sleep. CARMEL, welcome to the 2PM Project. It's fantastic to have you here. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Chris. It's a pleasure to be part of it. It's great.
Great. So we really wanted, I think the normal approach when you talk about health or connecting it to well-being, we think about physical health. We don't think about mental health as much. We think about diet and nutrition and exercise, and we have the old gag that a lot of businesses say, well, you just got to eat more salad and get a gym membership and everyone will be fine. But it just doesn't quite work that way. Tell us why sleep is important.
Well, look, to your point, there's 3 pillars of health, not just 2, exercise and nutrition we know well about, but the third one is sleep, and I actually think sleep underpins the other 2 anyway. So sleep is really important, and if we're missing out on sleep, we're not going to be healthy. We know that sleep impacts every aspect of our life, and to your discussion about our mental health and how important it is to keep it on a positive note during this time of isolation, we know that sleep, if we're having trouble with sleep, we're much more likely to develop a sad mood state, or we're much more likely to develop depression and just be unhappy. Just think back to the last time that you haven't had much sleep and think how unjoyous your life was. All you wanted was a good night's sleep. You weren't highly motivated to do anything. And so good sleep allows us the potential to be happy and to be positive. So mental state is really important at this time. So we need our sleep for that. But not more importantly, but as equally as important is the fact that sleep underpins our immune function as well. So when we are awake, our body devotes a lot of energy to just maintaining the functions of wakefulness. But actually when we sleep, it doesn't have to do that anymore. And what it does is performs the functions that keep us healthy when we're awake. And so it fires up our immune system when we're asleep. And there's a thing called natural killer cells. So natural killer cells are fantastic, and they fire up when we are asleep. And what they do is go around the body mopping up infected cells that have been infected with a virus or bacteria, or indeed a mutated cell. It recognises these foreign cells and it mops them up and sort of explodes them so they don't do any more harm. In the state of sleep deprivation, if we're not getting enough sleep, our natural killer cell activity drops by 50%. So if you think about when the last time you weren't getting enough sleep, many people listening to this will think, oh yeah, that was a time when I did get my cold or I did get the flu. So we're more vulnerable to colds and flus when we're actually sleep deprived. And we know that from a personal point of view. So one of the ways we can boost our immune function and give us a good opportunity to fight any potential virus infection in this day is to have a really good sleep. Because not only does it mop up cells in the first instance, but it also promotes a secondary line of defence, which is the building up of antibodies, which actually will get rid of the infection in the end. So our sleep underpins not only our innate immune system, but also our adaptive immune system. Now,
a little earlier, I was giving a shout out to soap, saying how awesome soap was. It should be soap and sleep, or it should just be sleep.
Well, soap is actually our first line of defence because our epidermis, it protects us from infection. It goes from the epidermis down to our innate system down to our adaptive system. And so, yes, open sleep. There you go. That's the new motto.
So then how much, I mean, it's always a big question, I suppose. We've never quite understood how much do we actually need and what does that depend on?
Yeah, it's quite clear how much we need, but people don't like to hear it, you know. So as adults, we need between 7 to 9 hours sleep. As you know, our need for sleep changes as we age. So newborn bubs need somewhere between 15 to 17 hours. Our teenagers need somewhere between 8 to 10, and us adults need somewhere between 7 to 9. And the myth is that we need less sleep as we get older. Actually, we don't. Our need for good sleep continues well into old age.
And so then is COVID-19 actually impacting sleep, how we're sleeping at the moment, or in what way?
Well, in the same way as Melissa was talking about, it's causing a lot of anxiety. So there's all different levels affecting our sleep. So just start off with, we're anxious about the isolation, we're anxious about our health of ourselves and our loved one, we're anxious about our financial health. But we've also impacted because we've lost our routine. Now, our body loves routine and sleep really relies on routine. So we've lost all that. We've actually lost our incidental exercise. Perhaps we're not doing as much good eating as we need to do. So there's all different things that are affecting our sleep. And so we need to sit back and work out what we aren't doing right and what we need to do to optimize our opportunities for good sleep.
All right. Well, that's the $1 million question. What can we do? Like, what can people do to ensure that they actually get a good night's sleep? Well,
I think one of the things in the era of working from home isn't it so easy? We were talking about this before we went to air about, you can loll around in your pajamas all day. You might put on a bit of lipstick or something before you get onto the camera in a meeting. And so what we're doing is losing our routine. So work and going outside the home actually gives us that routine without us even thinking about it. But all of a sudden now, sometimes it doesn't matter if we don't wake up till 9 or 9:30 because we don't have a meeting till 10. And so that we wake up late and we loll around and we actually don't give our body any indicia of what time of day or night it is. So what we need to do is make a very good practice of getting up at the same time every day. We can vary this by no more than an hour, because the secret is that when we wake up in the morning, we set our biological rhythms for the next 24 hours. And once we wake up and expose ourselves to light, we set that biological clock, and about 16 hours later, we're ready to go to sleep. Okay, so that 16 hours of when we wake up determines when we go to sleep. The other thing you can help with routine is having meals at a regular time. Exercise is really, really important, and whether we do it by yoga or obstacle courses or going for a run or whatever we choose to do, we need to factor in exercise. It's easy to forget about that, but that's really important. Make sure that we eat whole foods and go easy on the caffeine after midday, and try to refrain from, I know alcohol sales have gone up 300%, but try to refrain from that extra glass of alcohol because it will steal your sleep. And the other thing I really recommend is having a go-to-bed routine. 1 hour before bedtime, switch off, right? Switch off all technology. Make sure that you dim the lights in the room that you're in, because that gives the body very good indication it's time to go to sleep. Maybe do a relaxation exercise, a warm to hot shower, and make sure that the last thing you do before you go to bed is not watch the latest news. All it's going to do at this time, in this era, is stress us, because things haven't improved that much. So make a rule, watch the news once a day, get updated as to what you need to do, but don't keep going back to the news because it will stress you. And I know that Melissa talked about yoga. Well, I must say that something that's really good just before bedtime is yoga nidra. Often you can get them online. There's a guided meditation into sleep, and it will give you a really good opportunity to optimize your ability to get good consolidated sleep. And it's been shown to decrease your systemic inflammation and improve immunity. So they're my hints.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. The things you learn on the 2 p.m. project. You were sounding like you were saying all the things I am doing before I go to bed. So I got to change my ways. No, maybe not all. Hey, Dr. Carmel Harrington, I've got a couple of wives' tales here I want to run past you. You've probably heard these before, but just in the interest of, we don't often have a sleep expert on the show. Here we go. True or false? Should I have a glass of warm milk before I go to bed?
Actually, the old wives' tale's right. Yeah, it doesn't even have to be warm.
It helps, okay.
Yeah.
Well, interesting.
Yeah,
I think
it does. No, there's a physiological reason for that, because milk has tryptophan and it has a sugar in it, which is your lactose.
Oh.
And so tryptophan is a precursor to melatonin, which is our sleeping hormone. And because it's connected to a sugar, which is lactose, it crosses the blood-brain barrier and it helps you get to sleep. There you go.
All right, way more than I bargained for. I thought it was actually just related to the fact that, unrefrigerated dairy was once the norm for everyone, but anyway. Okay, wives' tale two. True or false? Should I count sleep? Oh my God. Should I count sheep to get to sleep?
The whole idea of that is just a mindfulness. So you take your attention away from everyday things. It doesn't work for many, many people, and that's why I recommend sort of guided meditation, progressive relaxation. There are other things that are probably more effective than counting.
What about eating cheese late at night? That's always the thing. People say, I ate cheese late at night. I had crazy dreams. Is that true?
Yeah, look, it can affect some people's ability to have good consolidated sleep. So try to restrict it. If it is one of your problems, just don't have it.
Okay.
Different people. Yeah.
How about this one? What about lavender on the pillow?
My mother-in-law swears by it, but actually there's not much evidence-based medicine about it.
Busted. Absolutely busted. What's another good one? What about a warm bath before bed?
Yes, no, that's very effective. It's one of my top sleep tips. In fact, not necessarily bath, a shower, because our body likes to fall asleep on a falling temperature. And by having a warm to hot shower, when you get out of the shower, your skin starts to cool down. So you're enhancing your natural decrease in body temperature that happens at that time of night anyway, and it sends the body off to sleep.
So it's the decrease in the body temperature that makes you sleepy. So I should be sleeping in a cool room as well.
Absolutely. Ideal sleeping ambient temperature is about 18 degrees Celsius.
The stuff you learn on this show, who knew? This is great. Okay, fantastic. Dr. Carmel Harrington, thank you very much. Hang on, I got one more. You said don't watch the news. What about reading? People read before they go to bed. Isn't that the same stimulation in your brain or not?
It's best if you don't read your account ledger or your tax papers or anything. But if you read a novel, it can be very effective, because a novel brings you into another world. It takes you away from the everyday cares and anxieties that you have. So reading a novel can be quite good, but I stress not a Kindle, but an old-fashioned novel.
There you go. So that's why 50 Shades of Grey has been so effective. Dr. Carmel Harrington, thank you so much for joining us here today on the 2 p.m. Project. Let's bring Melissa and Gabe in as well. Gabe, I'm hoping we're good with you on the audio. It would just be nice, I don't know whether you had any thoughts while we've got Carmel here. Do you have any questions while we're here?
Try now, Chris. Am I still reverbing?
You sound fantastic.
Oh, wonderful.
Peachy perfect.
Yeah, that was fascinating. Thanks, Carmel. I'm curious about children with sleep and any tips that you might have to firstly get them to do it and secondly keep them there.
Yeah, look, I actually love when Melissa said she's doing the yoga with her children. So one of the things you do in that hour before their bedtime is follow a routine. And kids love exercising with their children, with their parents. So doing a yoga, relaxation or guided meditation with your children in that hour before their bedtime can be really effective. So I highly recommend what Melissa is doing, and it's certainly something I recommend to parents everywhere. Now, the thing is with children is they have learnt that if they cry out, mum and dad come and all that sort of stuff. So there are ways of, depending on how old the children are, the advice changes depending on age groups. So it really, good bedtime routine, very clear set guidelines about what the bedtime routine is, when they're meant to go to bed, when they can get out of bed, things like that once they're into school age. But prior to school age, there's other things that we would work with as well. Yeah. It does depend on the child's age.
Thank you. I have a 12-year-old that has never slept, ever. I have 2 others that love it, but the 12-year-old, he came out not sleeping, and we're still in that routine of fighting him to bed every night.
Sometimes it's worthwhile noting at 12, it's a little bit older, but noting at what time he finally does fall asleep and allowing him to fall asleep at that time without any aggravation, okay? You know, you don't fall asleep till 10 o'clock, so we're going to let you go to bed at 10 o'clock, but we're still going to be waking you up at 7 o'clock. Don't allow them to sleep in to make up for the fact that they didn't go to bed till quite late. And bit by bit, it's amazing how the body clock will change and he'll start wanting to go. And then after you do that for a few days, say, okay, so now we're going to let you go to bed at 9:45. So you gradually bring their body clock forward. Yeah. But make sure you don't let them sleep in.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
So Gabe, we were cheated out of hearing a couple of responses from you. We might just go back to you for the last little bit before we take some questions from people who are watching the show, commenting on Facebook and YouTube. I believe there's some problems with the YouTube feed going out today. However, we are streaming live to Facebook. We can see the questions coming through. We were talking about ways to improve physical health, Gabe. It's a great challenge for all of us at the moment, given the constraints that we're under. How do you think we can do it? How are you doing it personally?
Well, I think after the initial shock of being in isolation passed, we as a family have just started to be able to get into more of a routine. And we're lucky in that we have a puppy that's 5 months and requires us to make sure that we go out twice a day to take the dog for a walk. So that's really helpful. Yeah. But I'm actually now finding that because I travel a lot, I have such a varied schedule that it's quite difficult for me to have a routine. Whereas right now I've started utilising the apps that I have bought for years and never used. So I've got the Couch to 5K running app, and for the last week, myself and my eldest son that doesn't sleep have been going out for a run each day, and that's wonderful. I'm kind of now finding that this situation is actually really benefiting me and a routine. So I've got the running app, but I'm also doing guided meditations. Again, something that I wouldn't have done a month ago when I was on and off airplanes all the time. So it's probably to tap into all of the incredible stuff that's out there and available to us. But as Carmel has quite rightly pointed out, you have to create that routine for yourself in order to be able to maximise on this opportunity. And for me, I'm seeing lots of plus sides.
Yeah, right. Fantastic. We can maybe even bring all our guests back in. We're going to take a couple of questions from our viewers at home watching on Facebook. Thank you for the comments that are coming through here today. Let's have a look. So, Melissa, I might even throw this at you. I'm having trouble getting motivated at home to exercise. What do you do? How can you motivate yourself to exercise at home?
Yeah, well, we know some of the things Gabe touched on before around starting small helps. So setting yourself some goals. We're very achievement-oriented humans. So setting yourself a goal in terms of whether that might be 5 minutes, walking around the block. Starting small makes a really big difference when we're wanting to change our habits around our health. So, and just thinking about it's kind of self-fulfilling exercise. You do it, you feel better, and that encourages you to keep doing it. So, but as we said, it's important to kind of not think, oh, I'm going to start by running, a half marathon or doing the 5Ks. As Gabe said, those programs are there for a reason, Couch to 5K, because you start off small, you build on that, and that can help you with the motivation.
Carmel, question for you. Oh, this is a beauty. This is one that we're all wondering about, people who have children. Is there a time before the children go to sleep that we should remove technology?
Yes, we really should be removing technology quite some time before they go to bed. I would recommend 2 hours before children, because it's not just the light the screen that actually affects their ability to produce melatonin. It's also because it keeps the brain quite alerted and aroused because they're doing stuff that they love, and so that's very much alerting the awake pathways, and awake pathways are inconsistent with our sleep pathways. So take them off technology 2 hours beforehand and have that as a set rule. And that's one of the rules that can surround your bedtime routine with children. So 2 hours, yes.
2 hours beforehand. Okay. And one further question for you, Carmel. I'm interested to know if fasting affects sleep.
Now, it's really interesting, the research around this. Fasting is good for us, but it appears that sometimes we can become a little bit hyper alert, our brain pathways, because when we're hungry, we actually are searching new ways to find food. So we can have a lot of neural activity in this, believe it or not. It's so interesting. So one of the things we need to do is, yes, fast during the day, but make sure you don't go to bed hungry because it can keep your brain pathways quite active.
Yeah,
interesting, isn't it?
Very interesting. And if I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't get back to sleep, people talk about, don't watch the clock. What do you do? Do you just lie there and hope that you'll get back to sleep, or do you?
Well, the more that we say sleep, 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 I've got a lot to do, we don't sleep, sleep, sleep. So there's a few things, and the first thing I always recommend is go to your breath. Because one of the things you do when you're becoming anxious about not falling asleep is we alert our awake pathways and our sympathetic drive, which is our awake nervous system. So what we want to do is alert or stimulate our parasympathetic system, which is the system that looks after us when we're asleep. So go to your breath and start to breathe 1 to 2, a ratio 1 to 2. So that means you breathe in for 1 and out for 2. In for 1 and out for 2. Now, after a very short amount of time, your respiratory rate will slow. So if your respiratory rate slows, what happens miraculously is your heart rate goes down, your blood pressure goes down, and your activity, nervous system activity goes down, and you're preparing your body for sleep. And then you're right to do a mindfulness exercise or progressive relaxation. If people want to go to my website, they'll see a few things there that could help them at that point in time at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Doctor. Dr. Carmel. Could have woken up Jeff a million times over. Actually, we do have one more for you, Carmel, that's just come through. What happens to us without the 7 to 9 hours a night consistently? What actually happens to us?
Oh, lots of bad things, actually.
Can we bank it later on? Can we make it back?
People often in this busy, it's not busy anymore. And I agree with Gabrielle when she said, look, there's a lot of positives in this. There's a lot of positives. And so one of the things, our world had become so busy. So people were really struggling getting the 7 to 9. They were lucky to get 5 or 6. You go out to, see people and speak to people, and they weren't getting what they needed. So long term, or short term, it affects our health and our mental health and our performance and our productivity. But long term, it affects our ability to keep a healthy mind. So we're more likely to develop dementia, more likely to develop cardiovascular disease, hypertension, and cancer. The list goes on and on. So I would really encourage people to put their health foremost. And I guess, I was saying earlier that Boris Johnson, he has personalised the importance of health right now, hasn't he? So all of us young, and we think we're going to be okay, but guess what? If we don't put our health first and foremost, then all of us could be where he is. And it's so important to remember that. So health first, and then everything else will flow.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Carmel Harrington, Managing Director of Sleep for Health. Thank you so much for being on. Any further questions from you guys before we go, before the sun hits me? Look at that. Any other thoughts? I think we've exhausted all our comments now. Nope. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to go to our musical act. Adam. Where are we? Adam Simmons. Oh, Adam, this is going to be fantastic. A perfect way to go out, I would say. So Adam is one of Australia's most prolific and varied artists, performing in a myriad of ensembles, including his jazz trio, Origami, and the acclaimed Adam Simmons Creative Musical Ensemble. Adam has curated events including Wangaratta Festival of Jazz and Blues, Festival of Slow Music, and Artlands Bandstand. Adam teaches Shakuhachi at the University of Melbourne and offers mentoring and grant writing services via his arts consultancy initiative, The Usefulness of Art. Adam, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We always say this to the artists that we have on board, what a particularly tough time it is, given that we're exploring well-being in this series of episodes on the 2PM project. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Up and down. I do have some teaching. Melbourne Uni has shifted online, so that's only 4 hours a week for me. But I can continue doing that. And a couple of private students have decided to continue online. But yeah, I was meant to be doing 3 international tours with my trio origami this year, starting up a festival at the end of August with local and international acts, probably 100 plus musicians. So all of that is either postponed or cancelled. So yeah, some challenges.
It's a particularly challenging time, and I know, we're a creative agency here. We work with a lot of artists, particularly performing artists. It's an incredibly difficult time. There's so many aspects. There's the financial burden, the emotional, just the complete unknown and loss of security in what people are doing. We know that artists bounce off the highs and lows of what happens in the world. Sometimes you can be incredibly creative. Sometimes it's the complete opposite. How creative do you feel at the moment?
That bouncing around you mentioned, I've been doing a lot of that over the last few weeks. And I'm sort of looking at it and going, that's actually the space I normally inhabit. Being a freelance musician, you're always trying to go, what's the next thing? Where's the next project? Someone's asked me to do a gig. I can maybe do that. I'm going to put out a thing. And so it's sort of, we are used to doing that. There is that, that as artists, we're creating things and you're trying to look for the next opportunity. But yeah, over the last few weeks, it's sort of, there's been a whole flurry of things that have just been coming out. So I've started doing little sticky notes rather than coming up with the idea and forgetting it. I have actually started putting little sticky notes for the different ideas, which is useful because then maybe it's that afternoon or the next day. Then I'm going, what do I do? I don't know where to start. I can't do anything. And it's so, everything seems accentuated at the moment. So I'm slowly just trying to, after some of this initial response, flight or fight, I kind of figure, of just going, right, what do I do? Something. I need to kind of just realise this is going to go on for quite some time, and if I can just relax, calm down a little, me running around isn't going to necessarily make anything happen any faster. So if I just slow down a little, then if I can get to a calmer place, it's going to be a bit easier for me to move on from there, and pick and choose a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay. So earlier in the episode, we were talking about physical health. I don't know, did you have any thoughts while that was going on? I mean, what are you doing at the moment to promote your physical health, given the constraints that we're all under?
My wife, Vicky, keeps telling me I need to get out at least once a day. We're all meant to get out once a day. I've got a shed out the back of the house, and whenever I'm on the phone, I tend to walk around. So Zoom's not so useful. So I can't walk around as easily. But I tend to move around the house normally. And I've been cleaning up my shed. That's a really good thing, which is sort of about cleaning up more than just the physical in a way. But so I'm not getting out every day, but one of the things that I need to do more often is play music more often, because I've learnt that that's actually much more physical than I think. and as I'm getting caught up in the sort of day-to-day of just admin, contacts, meetings, I'm not playing as much as I should be. But when I actually do play, there's a physicality involved, as well as it's a place that does relax me. As Carmel was talking before about the breathing, with being a wind instrument player, saxophone, flute, clarinet, shakuhachi, they're all on the breath. And so music has been something for me that I've recognised since I was a teenager about, it actually does help me just find a calmer place to be. But then also in terms of sleep, it's interesting because I suffer from sleep apnea. So I really, after the first night of using the machine a few years ago, which is just helping pump air into me. It's nothing special about the air. It's just making sure the air gets into me. Suddenly I just felt, I'm not tired. I can actually play soccer with my son. I don't fall asleep when I'm reading bedtime stories to them. I can deal with issues in a more calm manner. I'm not short. So even just after couple of nights of starting to get that restorative sleep, so it's not just the length, but for me it's with the sleep apnea, you just keep kind of half wake out of that deep sleep, and without that restorative sleep, it really it really taught me the impact of not getting proper sleep.
Yeah, right. Well, boy, do we have an internationally recognised sleep scientist for you.
Yeah.
Very fortunate. Adam, I think it's a perfect segue into hearing some of your music. Adam Simmons is our house band, as we like to call it. You're our house band today. Just on your own, that's all right.
Yeah.
And Adam teaches at University of Melbourne and offers mentoring and grant writing services. He's going to play shakuhachi today. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the instrument and about the piece you're about to play?
So the shakuhachi, this is the standard shakuhachi, which the name of it, shakuhachi, is the length. So shaku is about roughly 1 foot. It's an old Japanese measurement of length, and hachi is 8. And so you've got 8 sun, roughly sort of inch. So that's the name of it, simply 1.8, 1 foot 8. But you blow over the edge, and it's 5 holes. But you can get all the 12 notes of the Western scale. And if you want to play at home, here's one I prepared earlier, you can just practice on a bottle. So, yeah.
That's why the alcohol consumption has gone up 300%. Alcohol purchases. I think everyone's trying to play the shakuhachi.
But keep in mind that I'd be interested to know there's a whole bunch of restaurants and bars that aren't operating anymore. So with people going to see music. So maybe it's just transferred somewhere.
All right, you got us there. Yeah.
But here's a long one. I can't remember the name of this properly, but it's a ni shaku. So 2 shaku, 0.6 or 7, depending on how you call it. But yeah. This is a piece, Bamboo in Spring Rain, which was inspired from an exhibition that I wrote some music for at the National Gallery of Victoria, of Chinese art inspired. It was called The Three Perfections: calligraphy, poetry, and painting. And then I used the paintings as inspiration for the music. And so ended up releasing a project called The Fourth Perfection, of course, being music. So this is Bamboo in Spring Rain.
Wow, fantastic. Adam, thank you so much. That's Adam Simmons, who's our house band today. What an incredible experience that was. What a unique sound. And is that something you sort of graduate from a recorder or a clarinet, or where did you start?
Oh, I started on recorder when I was about 7, I think, clarinet 8, saxophone more properly 12, flute around 16. I saw shakuhachi played on ABC TV when I was about 15 on Sunday arts, when they used to have lots of arts all afternoon on ABC TV. And I wanted to play shakuhachi. I was connected, and I was also reading all my dad's books on Zen Buddhism at the time. And I'd sort of really liked the idea of going to Japan, becoming a Zen monk and giving up everything, playing shakuhachi and getting hit over the head with a stick and becoming enlightened. But it took me about 15 years to get around to actually being in Japan and having some friends help me find a shakuhachi before I started actually doing it. So it was about 19 years ago now.
Okay.
So,
wow. Well, that was a fantastic experience to hear you play. Very unique for our house band. Thank you so much, Adam Simmons. We have put links to Adam's websites, as well as Dr. CARMEL Harrington's website too. Adam, thank you so much for joining us today. Our time is up. Dr. CARMEL Harrington, thank you so much. I think you're still on the line with us. It's been a pleasure to talk to you today. What a really great experience to hear your thoughts on sleep.
It's been great. Thank you so much. And Adam, that was just beautiful. Thank you for that. It was gorgeous.
And my colleagues Gabrielle Harris and Dr. Melissa Giles, you guys, thank you again for joining us on the 2 p.m. project. We are here normally at 2 p.m. on a Friday, but because of Good Friday, we've come to Thursday. Come to Thursday. Don't forget your homework for this week. You know what I'm saying? Pop, it doesn't spin very much. It's just up and down, up and down. Stage 1 of juggling. By week 3, you're going to be able to juggle, okay? The highlights today: soap is awesome and sleep is awesome. That's all I'm going to leave you with. Thank you so much for joining us here today on the 2 p.m. project. Great to have your company. Thanks for everyone who's been commenting today on the Facebook page. We will see you next Friday. It's going to be at 2 p.m. Melissa and Gabrielle, thanks for your contribution today, and my stand-in producer, Eve Brennan. Do you want to put yourself online, Eve? Come on, come on. You're 2 shopping trolleys away. She doesn't want to say hello. There she is. Single leopard. Double leopard. We'll be back next week. We miss you already. Thanks for joining us here today on the 2 p.m. project. Eve, you can keep it on you if you like. Thanks so much. Enjoy. See you next week. Enjoy your Easter.